I'm truly, truly honored and thrilled and excited to introduce this panel of incredible artists. First up, we have Gloria Calderon Kellett, the showrunner and executive producer of One Day at a Time. We have the amazing, amazing Justina Machado, Penelope Alvarez. The incredible, I just can't believe, like, she's so, Isabella, come on down. And I'm just gonna start openly weeping. The legend, the incredible gift to humanity, Rita Moreno. And we have Fryman. Pamela Fryman is one of the best directors.
I don't think they got a chance to hear who she is.
I was going to say, she's one of the finest directors working today. And I'm actually going to start at the end, if that's okay. The season 2 finale of One Day at a Time. There was a moment in that, we're going to spoil it.
Which Pam directed.
There was a moment in which I literally screamed in an empty room because I just thought, if you take my Lydia away from me, I can't handle it. That was an incredible episode of television, so congrats to all of you for killing it. That was incredible. But Gloria, I wanted to ask you, that's an episode that really breaks the form of a typical comedy episode, because essentially it's a series of monologues and then a beautiful set piece for Lydia and Berto at the end. So can you talk about what was the genesis for that, to go to that place where you said, we're just going to really kind of change the rules and do something different?
Well, it's interesting because Norman had done an episode of Maude that B. Arthur won the Emmy for, which was a monologue. It was her talking to a therapist, and we don't even see the therapist. And it is 22 minutes of B. Arthur, I think 25 minutes at the time, of her just doing this epic monologue in this therapist's office. So really, we were honoring something that happened 40 years ago with Norman's work once again. And I started out writing monologue shows, so I love the monologue. I also like talking for long periods of time without being interrupted. So that was sort of the genesis, and we thought I walked in the first day and I was like, Mike, I think Rita should have a stroke. And, well, not Rita, but... Oh, I know, that sounded... Lydia! And he was like, what? And then we were like, but this could be perfect, because we have this... Then we can do, everyone has, what I love about that episode is you get to see everyone's amazing acting chops. They all do their monologues so beautifully. They are such epic actors, these actors. From Marcel all the way to Steven, like, it was really such a pleasure to allow them each this starring moment in that final episode, and then this one just kills us at the end, you know?
Oh, man, and Penelope's monologue was such a brave choice. You know, it was about a difficult time when they didn't get along. And I loved that each monologue reflected each character's relationship with Lydia. It was a different tone.
But also what was so delightful, so special about that is that you found out things about the characters that you didn't know, particularly Snyder.
Yeah.
So that was so tender and sweet. But I mean, that it was so much more than just that. It was so packed with the character and richness.
I have to ask you, was it really hard to just lay there in a bed?
It's hard as hell.
No, I mean, because you have
For a person
to
who is so active and noisy, I am naturally a noisy person. Just ask her.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
But I'll tell you something kind of sweet that happened during her particular monologue. which, as you remember, is just so gorgeously written and God knows beautifully acted. And of course, I had to keep very, very still for all of these things. But there came a point when she's talking to me and she says, please, something like argue with me, disagree with me. Do you remember what that was?
She said, what did Penelope say?
Please fight with me, Maureen.
Please, Maureen, wake up and argue with me, I guess, right?
Argue
That's
with
what I
me.
said, right?
That really got to me, Rita. And I felt a tear coming, even though my eyes were closed. And I remember thinking, I didn't want to ruin her take. I mean, you don't want to do that kind of monologue 12 times. I mean, you really don't. And I feel this tear coming from my right eye, and I started to fight with that tear. I literally was saying, don't you dare. Don't you dare run out of my eye. Don't you dare run down my cheek. And luckily, really, thank God, because if they were taking close-ups of me all the time while these actors were talking. So they could do, reaction stuff. And I knew it might show. But luckily, she stopped, or something stopped that take because, for whatever reasons, and I could wipe it. And I thought, okay, I'm just not going to listen. I'm just not going to listen because it's too difficult. She kills me. She kills me as an actress. I love her.
I love you too. I love you. I love you.
Pam, when you were directing that episode, was there what was it a scary one to do, a harder one to do?
So funny. It was not.
It was funny.
It was. Here's what's so remarkably special about this show. Gloria and Mike give all of us the gift of the most beautiful words you've ever seen on a page. And they know that each one of these actors can just do wonderful things with what they write. And everybody takes it so seriously. There are times when you're doing shows and everybody looks at it, you do it and you move on. Everybody works so hard on this show. We rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, and I'll be done. I know what I need, but they keep going. And you take a 5, and they keep working. And they are so appreciative, Gloria, you should know this, of what they've been given. And doing that particular episode, which was heart-wrenching, but also such a gift and such a wonderful story to tell, it was an honor to be able to rehearse those words. And everybody did it exactly right. And we didn't over-rehearse, and we didn't overshoot. And for my friend Justina, who whispered to me, I'm doing this once.
And boy,
Do
did
not
she.
want to do this again.
Yeah.
She told that to me too. She
I
said,
mean,
I'm
and
not
so
doing this
we
again.
rehearsed it like rehearsal light. She marked where she wanted to be, but she will make you cry every day of the week. And there are things that she knows that if she says it a certain way, she's going to go. So she's very good about knowing how much to give during rehearsal, and we all know to trust her completely. But then when the cameras were rolling for the audience, it was like action, and everybody just got to watch, cut, and that's all we needed. But everybody did an extraordinary job, and also for Rita to be able to be there and when we rehearsed too, you were in that bed.
And no one thought she was real, by the way.
I know.
My mother was, somebody was there and they're like, is that like a dummy? I'm like, no, that's Rita.
She did?
Because she was so good, even stiff. You're like, that is so great. That's the great acting.
No,
Even lying down,
What
Rita
surprised
Moreno.
my friends is that I didn't fall asleep. But how could you fall asleep with these astonishing actors doing this gorgeous work?
And the greatest
I
part is that
listened.
Marcel did his mother's nails at home to prep for that. So she was like, her nails were fantastic by the end of the week. But, so everybody had their own methods.
I remember Marcel saying, this is hard. I said, I told you to practice at home.
Well, I wanted to know if the actors could talk about having the live studio audience for something like that, like you could hear them react. It was just like, what's it like was that the energy that shooting day, was it particularly intense?
Can I answer first? Because the experience was extraordinary. I've never had that experience before. Obviously, the audience that was there that particular day in particular really knew all of our characters very well. They had been watching all the time, and they knew Berto, and they knew that he was dead, and they also knew that Livia had little conversations with him now and then. And so there she was, laying down on the bed, and he walks in, and that audience went ape. It was like, oh my God. And you could hear them talking. It was like, oh, no. It's like
I
your
screamed.
reaction.
I screamed.
Did you scream?
I screamed in my home.
They
My
were
cats
Actually,
talking.
we had to turn it down. We pulled it
We
out.
had to stop it. They
Yeah.
had to tell the audience, don't do that.
Yeah, you did, right? That's right.
And then when he said, are you coming with me? And she says, not yet. They burst into this applause. It was spontaneous. But talk about the valuing an audience. Oh my God, that was an extraordinary experience.
Yeah, it's so having a live audience is the biggest gift as an actor. And it's funny because usually for a comedy, that's what really helps. You get your first laugh and something switches inside of you, and it's like there's a magic that they bring that you can't explain. And usually doing really dramatic scenes is harder with an audience just because in between takes they're laughing and singing and doing all this stuff and it's hard to focus. But this audience was so into this episode and wanting to know what happened and into the performances that they were quiet. And like, even when we were filming, you could hear a needle drop in that audience. And it was 250 people. And that also brought a certain energy into the room, which was like, it's not only this family caring for Lydia and not wanting her to go, it's an entire nation. And it was really special, and it helped a lot. And it was so beautiful to see them react and care so much about these people and like learn about them, and in between takes, instead of like doing their usual thing that they did, which is they dance and I don't know what they do up there. They would
They have a lot of fun.
They have a lot of fun
up there.
They were talking to each other and being like, there's no way. It's just really like, are they gonna kill her? There's no way. They can't kill Rita Moreno, right? Can they do that?
They better not.
Can I mention one thing, speaking of Todd, because he's not here? He and his wife just had a little baby boy named Crosby James. And do you know what he did at the hospital bed of his wife? He put lights up like Schneider did. He put lights up. Did you know that? Isn't that sweet?
That was sweet.
Isn't that darling?
My friend who's a nurse is like, that's a fire hazard.
Well, I said that.
And
I
that's
said that was
why-
a fight. We kept it real.
And that's why
I said that.
That's why
And
she's
then
a
I had my
nurse.
monologue.
That's why she's a nurse.
That's
The Penelope practical reaction. But I want to talk about Penelope a little bit. Like, the show itself is so good at mixing serious issues and, mental health issues and topical issues. And your character in particular has this really, I think the challenge that everyone has is great, but you obviously more than rise to it. But your character has struggled with depression and with PTSD, goes to a veteran support group. What for you, like, and then there's also the audience. You've got to like keep their energy and keep their attention. Is it like incredibly difficult in that sense, or no?
No, not at all.
For her?
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. By the way, I don't have to do anything with the audience. We have an incredible warm-up guy who takes care of the audience. We have, and the fabulous Pamela Fryman reminded me my first season that they're here to help, but I don't have to. It's not like I don't have to entertain them. We have to do the job. The work is entertaining them. She gave me permission if I need 30 minutes. She's like, take 30 minutes. Of course, I would never take 30 minutes. I'm too anal. You know what I mean? I'd be like, no, I gotta do it. But it's like, I don't find any of it difficult. I find all of it incredible. This is a dream come true. It's exciting. Every second of it is exciting. I don't have any pressure at all, except the pressure I put on myself.
She has a prodigious memory, because I don't know if you've noticed, but Penelope never shuts up.
Like me in real life, by the way, I want to tell you.
and also in real life. And she gets these insane and complicated monologues. I don't know if you remember the episode, which is also one of my other favorites, of the VA, when she's trying to get the VA on the phone.
Yes.
And she can't, and she practically carries the entire show on her shoulders for 30 minutes. And her memory absolutely astonishes me. If anything, she has to be careful not to memorize too soon, because there's a lot of rewrites. you know, the show that we're going to read at the table next Monday is going to be so different by next Thursday and Friday. Yes. So, you know, you don't really want to memorize too soon. I, on the other hand, am 86, and I have my problems, but and I always get very nervous at the beginning of the season because I have to remember stuff that, you know, my brain hasn't been doing that all season long until now. But now the thing that began to happen is that I began to get distracted during scenes, and I'd be standing there. Yeah. She couldn't believe it. And I had the script in my hand, but I'm looking at all the actors and thinking, wow, they are so fabulous. And I'm looking at Marcel, who is the most gorgeous kid, and I'm saying, look how he's grown. And finally, I haven't looked at my script once, and this one, and I look up, and everybody's looking at me, and I say, oh, is it me?
Yeah. Must be my line.
Meanwhile, while she's admiring, Justina and I are looking at each other like, just give her a second. She's got this. It's okay.
It's not only
It doesn't
that,
matter if she
it's-
forgets that line 100 times. She's going to say that line once, and it's going to be the greatest line you ever heard. And you're like, really, Rita?
You didn't even practice this. You didn't say it once during rehearsal. Biggest laugh. You're like, cool.
Thank you, Rita.
There have been many instances where Rita has crossed in from the kitchen to the living room for no reason. And she'll just glance over and I'll go,
Back in the kitchen.
Get back in the
And
kitchen.
that's the big joke, because when there's nothing for me to do, sometimes suddenly a big scene happens, and I'm just standing there like, you know, like an idiot. And so we've gotten to the point now where I just say, I think I should go to the kitchen, don't you? Yeah. And we send me back into the kitchen. Oh, shit, I keep sitting on this.
Also, on that line, just one more. We have a lot of dinner scenes in our show. If you can't tell, we're always eating somehow. And sometimes Rita will just be eating. And then she'll be like, oh, it's my line. And she'll try to say it through like mouthfuls of food. She's like, oh, sorry, it was just so good. And we're all like, thank you, Rita.
It's what happens when you have an old codger on your set like me.
You mean perfect person.
It's adorable.
That's what I think. But Gloria, going back to the idea of just rebooting the show in general, like what was your reaction when the idea was presented to you, or when the idea became, you know, like someone talked to you about it for the first time? Was it the connection to Norman Lear, or was it the idea of refreshing the concept in this particular way? What was it that drew you to the project?
Well, frankly, I've told this story before, but when somebody calls and says Norman Lear wants to have lunch with you, you go. So Norman is so disarming, and he makes you feel so safe very quickly. He's really interested, even though he's 95. He's so interested in stories and in people. And when I got there, and after, you know, the 30 minutes where I don't know, I was just in oh my God, I can't believe I'm in Norman Lear's office. He started talking to me about it, and I was so comfortable that I was frank in saying, I don't know that you should do this. And he said, well, why? And I said, because Norman, Latinos were hard, man, because we want to be represented. There is a starvation for any other person. And we want, when those shows are on, we're like, oh, please be good, please be good, please be good. And then we watch it, and then it's like, oh, God, I want to like it so bad. And I'd been through that many years. And I was like, if we're talking about my family, man, I'm really protective of that. And you kind of have one shot to do that, because then you've done it. And you know, there you go. And he said, well, what would you want to do? And so I talked to him about what I would want to do. And I said, if I was a veteran, and because he was like, I'd love the family to be a veteran family. That was important to him because he is a veteran himself. And I said, if I was newly divorced, I'm married. Sorry, fellas. If I was newly divorced, my parents are at my house every day. My parents would absolutely live with me. That's very, you know, my parents pick my kids up from school. We have dinner every night. My mom and my dad's still alive. He's very irritated. But he loves Tony Plana, so it all works out. But so we just started talking about that, and he loved that idea. He loved this, that there would be like a matriarchy and these powerful women, and he was so interested. And then at the end of the meeting, he just said, well, let's do that.
Norman Lear.
And I was just like, huh? And then I remember I went to my car and I called my agents. I'm like, I think I'm doing this show with Norman Lear. It was that. And And that's how it's been. And Mike was already attached, the wonderful Mike Royce, who did Men of a Certain Age and Everybody Loves Raymond and Enlisted. And he...
Everybody loves Raymond. Great show.
so excellent. And when Mike and I first sat down, because then I was like, well, I love Norman, but I don't know this guy. When
Then
we
you
sat,
found out what a diva he is.
I know. No,
Kidding.
we sat down, and the nervousness also of a person of color who's working with a white guy, right? Is, oh, they're gonna just, I'm there just for the poster. I'm there for the press release, but they really are not interested in my point of view. Okay, that's the other thing. I sat down with Mike. The first words out of Mike's mouth was, we are partners. You're doing this with me. You're my co-showrunner, my co-everything. I mean, this doesn't happen. You don't understand how this doesn't happen. So I am, in a time where men are being held accountable for being terrible, I gotta say, these two men are glorious, wonderful, and really have lifted me up and made this show possible. So I'm forever grateful to both of them.
I want to know something. Do you have any idea why Norman chose you?
I don't know.
Because, I mean, there have to be a few other, maybe not many, but there have to be some other.
There's not that many.
That's true.
Well,
wow.
But I don't know. It all happened in that meeting. It was like a magic, it was, I don't know, an hour and a half or something. And he had decided in there. I mean,
Well, I mean, statistically speaking, I do a lot of reporting in this area, and there are places that have tracked stats over time. And one of the most appalling statistics that I track year after year is representation of Latinx women on television. There's one place that tracks speaking roles. And I believe in the most recent survey it's a university that does this tracking, the most recent survey, 4% of roles, or I think it was 5% of speaking roles were Latinx women, and that was down like a point from what it had been. It's hovered around that, and that's so appalling to me because as a nation, we rely on women of color to do so much of our vital work in every arena, and I just wanted to see if you would like to talk about that issue, and if you think it's changing, and if it's not, I would love to get your perspective on that.
I think it's changing, but slowly. And I think social media has a lot to do with it changing. I think it's just, if they write us like people, like what we are, then we're okay. That's the problem, is that they're constantly trying to put us in boxes. They're constantly, I always say this is my, there's, for a Latina woman, there's like the over-sexualized woman or the asexual cop or the suffering mother. It's like they can't see anything else.
Or the
Every
maid.
immigration story is different, by the way,
Yeah.
Gloria's Cuban, I'm Puerto Rican, she's Colombian, she's Puerto Rican. We have different stories.
Of course.
So it's like, that's another thing that they always throw out there. These, that we're all the same and we all have the same story. And it's like, my people have been American citizens, even though it doesn't look like it right now, what's going on in Puerto Rico, since 1917. So it's just kind of, it's insane. It's just opening their eyes and telling stories that don't just include their nanny or their gardener. I can't tell you how many times there's a script and somebody wrote it and it's like, it's based on my nanny, it's based on my gardener. Who else do you know? Who else do you know? I went to a party and I was already on 6 Feet Under. I had already done 6 Feet Under. I was with my friend. Thank you. And literally, this woman came up to me and said, "Oh, are you the nanny?" I swear to God, yeah. And I was like, no, I'm not the nanny. And of course, my friend went crazy, and I said, it's fine, don't go crazy, it's all right. She's like, no, that's unacceptable. But she goes, no, I'm just asking because you're so good. You were so good with the kid. I'm like, really? That's why you were asking me? Because I was so good with the kid, or I'm the only one who's brown right here? So it's just like, open your, and that was part of your, I'm sure, when you spoke to Norman, like, come on, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this right. I can't tell you how many times I've been on shows and it's like we're having a birthday party, so they gotta give me like chiles hanging down. You know what I mean? You know, Rita, you know, but I mean, Rita, they made her 4 shades darker for West Side Story. Do you know what I mean?
Don't get me going.
I know.
Don't get me started. I said to my makeup man on West Side Story one morning, because I was so sick of it. You know, for starters, Puerto Ricans, because of all the colonization, are truly many different colors and nationalities. French, they're Dutch, they're Spanish, from Spain, Spanish. And we have this astonishing array of colors in Puerto Rico. And I said to my makeup man one morning, I'm so sick of this muddy, dark makeup. I said, I don't understand why our gang always, and all of the Puerto Rican sharks had this ultra dark makeup. Some of us were, and some of us were not. I was one of the ones that was not. And I said, I'm just so sick of it. This doesn't make any sense. Normally, when I do a part in a film, my face color is matched with the makeup. And he actually looked at me, he says, what are you, racist?
Oh, wow.
I would love to say I had a comeback, but I was so shocked that I didn't have anything to, I was just, huh? I could not believe it.
I think it's really true. I think when there is Latino representation on TV, it's typically a supporting role or just a not even recurring, but someone who just comes in for an episode or two. And it's often people involved in a criminal enterprise. And not to say, like, I love all kinds of stories. You know, Breaking Bad was a criminal enterprise. But it's like, it's very narrow, not reflective of families, communities, different cultures. Like, I think it's one of the biggest problems, honestly, in American television right now.
And not just in television, in culture. You know, what we're doing can affect culture, especially when we have a president in power who's saying that we are rapists and criminals. I don't know one person in a gang. I don't know not one person. Now, those stories are great.
I know a lot of people in gangs. We have different backgrounds, you see?
Different backgrounds.
I'm from the inner city of Chicago. I know a lot of gangbangers. A lot of my family, too. We're different, you see? Different
Yeah,
stories.
just talk to Rosie Paris. That's her entire life.
I mean, seriously, you know?
But there's another alternative. And I think that it's really important to be able to throw our hat in the ring and say, here's also who we are. Here's also who we are. And this is a loving family. These are immigrants. These are people that are making good in this country, that are working hard, that are your people that you're seeing at the grocery store. And we love our kids, and we want them to do well and be safe, and just like you.
So I feel like there's some talk about maybe we don't have sitcoms depicting working class Americans, and I'm like, huh.
I know.
Who wrote that article? That's like your show. I think there's a class element too. There's like, this is a family that's not, a lot of families on TV are really wealthy, or people on TV are really wealthy, and this is a family that's just trying to pay their bills and get by and get ahead. And I think that's really important too, is that kind of socioeconomic representation to some degree. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I think that the middle class hero has been gone for a long time. And it's interesting that when Roseanne went off the air, they were like, oh, what are we gonna do? I'm like, what? We've been on for 2 years. What are you talking about what we're gonna do? Look at Netflix.
Netflix took out an ad.
Yeah, they did.
Which
but yes, that was. But I do absolutely think that people want to relate, you know, and they want to feel not alone. And also, I think our family is a family to aspire to, for sure. I mean, they're a family that they speak to each other, they love each other, they're compassionate with each other, and they're trying to get by like everybody else right now.
And representation matters. How many times do we have to say it?
There's a beautiful video on the One Day at a Time Twitter account that just was tweeted the other day about what those words, representation matter. I cried through the whole thing. It's fine. I'm okay. But you said something, Gloria, that I thought was so beautiful. We write to make people feel less alone. And that was... But Isabella, could you talk a little bit about the representation for the LGBTQ community that you have been... Your character has obviously... She's come out. She's gone through teen crushes and relationships. Like, what has playing that role been like for you?
It's amazing. I recently made this connection because as a white passing, the people on TV growing up looked like me. So the representation aspect, I never really thought about it because people on TV looked like me until the show, which I also was when I was informed that I was white passing, and I was like, oh, that's what that was. Okay. But it's like, I don't love superhero movies, and then I watched Wonder Woman, and I walked out of that theater feeling like I could win every award, I could change the world, right? Like that feeling of empowerment. I was like, is this what all white men feel like every time they go? Right?
What a good question.
It was that. So being that for the LGBTQ community, a community that has so little representation, and the representation that they do have is so inaccurate and so negative, and also just not, it doesn't represent who they are. It's one-layered. It's not how real humans are, and especially as I play a young lesbian relationships on TV are often seen through the lens of men and more as a fantasy for them than real humans just liking each other. So being that has been so inspiring. The amount of people that I've gotten to talk to and the vulnerability I get to see and the amount of conversations I've had with people that have made me so much more empathetic and so much more of an activist. I've changed so much because of this role, and it is such a blessing and such an honor to be that vessel.
And I love that this is a show that is about, it's a matriarchy, as you said. It's like this is 3 women at different ages with different outlooks. I really love that the Alvarez women, they're not all the same. They are.
Oh, we are so different. We were just discussing that before we came on here. We're so different. And you know, if I may, well, whether I may or not, I'm going to do it.
You may.
I don't care.
You're Rita Moreno. You can do anything you want.
That's what I say.
She already knows. She already knows that, by the way.
And anyway, when we were first discussing the character of Livia, we were doing a conference call, myself, Mike, and Gloria, and Norman Lear. And I said, there's one caveat, and I think this is really, really, really important for the character of Lydia. And I said, I want very much, I know she's older, I know she's a grandmother and all that kind of stuff. I said, but I want her to be a sexual person. And it's not like everything turned to dust down there, you know. So they were delighted. The writers of Norman loved that because Norman's a dirty old man anyway. As it happens, I'm a dirty old lady, so it's perfect. But I was so
in line.
What?
That was so in line with the women that I knew growing up. I mean, my abuela till the day she went, makeup, pelo, I mean, these are women that live in their womanness. Yeah. And I just loved that. I loved
and you
it.
know what's wonderful too is that the younger people, there's a lot of younger people who adore Lydia. That's what I mean. Despite her opinions, which sometimes are absolutely insane, and erratic and even thoughtless, but they love that about her. That she really is an independent woman, and she loves her sexuality to the point one day where I said they had me doing something really shameless. When I say they, I mean the writers, and I said, well, I don't like. She said, well, that's what you
asked
wanted.
for, Moreno.
That was so funny. My comeuppance, yeah.
I think too, because people have been talking a lot about what's happening in the media, and I also think we are at a time where we need a little kindness and a little love, and that for me is the privilege of this show. This is about people who love each other, and they're going to go through some tough stuff, but there will always be love at the bottom of it. And to present that in a time of so much negativity is really important, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what's one of the things that's so fabulous about this show.
Especially the first season, not going to make it about me, but Okay, well, my
It's too
mo-
late.
My mother had recently died, and stuff happened in politics that was challenging. I saved these episodes. I would be like, okay, I really need one now, because this family, they're flawed people. They fight like my Irish Catholic family, like, you know. But there's such a love and support. They show up for each other, and I include Schneider in that. You know, like there's just their friends and their family. They're there for each other, and I don't know. I think that's a really important thing, and I also think too, for years, white families were presented as the universal experience, but I experience universal emotions, and I would imagine that the fans that come up to you and the people that talk to you, they're from all walks of life. I would imagine, right?
That's something we've always known. It took other people a minute. I mean, yeah, we're a lot more similar than we are different. I mean, these are human emotions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you know how, and I think what's great about, one of the many things that's great about our show is the specificity, you know, because people relate to that. Like we had that whole Vicks Vapor Rub, you know? Like anybody who's Latino knows they think that cures everything,
See,
okay?
I'm seeing a lot of faces like
Yeah.
this.
Kind of does.
And it does.
It kind of
Viva
does.
Barub.
But
It kind of does.
But then remember my
Put it
big
on a
fa-
zit, it'll
Yeah.
go away, you guys.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, girl.
I always use toothpaste.
Oh
back
no,
in the day.
no, do a little Vicks Vaporub. Ahí está. Yeah.
It's done. But like my big fat Greek wedding had the Windex, remember? And that was their thing. So it's like people can relate. It's just they might have different things, but I think that's one of the wonderful things about our show is that it's so specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny though, because people do come up to us and they're like, "We're not Latinos, but we love your show." And it's
Yeah.
like, I don't go up to my favorite white actors and go, "I'm not white, but I love your show." But I think it's the beginning of them processing, because the media has told them that we are sexy maids and drug users, and that's what they've been told. And then they see this
I
and they're
loved all
like,
those sexy maids, by the way. They're all our friends.
They are all our friends. I worked on that show.
Yeah, she wrote on that show.
But you know what? I think what you're saying too is that a conversation is starting.
that's the thing. They're starting to see us as humans that we are, and we've always been, and we've always known we've been humans. But now they're like, "Oh wow, look! They just keep like their meat in a butter tub, but they're just like us."
Who doesn't do that, by the way? I think that's
away?
universal.
Who's throwing that away? I'm going
I
to talk to
mean,
you. If
you
you're
know,
throwing that
come
in the
on.
recycling pedal, what are you doing? Okay.
But I love
throw
that when
that away.
Lydia says, "And this is a cookie thing, but it doesn't have the cookies that came in it originally." That's one of my favorite things of Lydia's.
And I mean, really, I just want to say this because Pam knew Gloria, right? They worked together, but Pam took a big chance on us too. I mean, this is a very accomplished woman right here. She's very humble, but she is the #1 sitcom director. And we love you.
So we're going to do some audience questions in a minute. So if people want to start lining up, but I want to ask you about that. Why did you want to be part of this? And, why did you want to bring your craft to this project?
Gloria. I met with Gloria. Gloria and I did How I Met Your Mother together, and Gloria said, "Want to come play with me and Norman Lear?" And I said, "Yes, please." And I'll tell you something. The studio actually said to Gloria, "Yeah, Pam's
She's
not
a
going to want to do
very
this."
nice person, and she's saying that to you, but she's not going to do it. That's right. They told me, five or six. Five or six times,
What was
Rita.
the perception? Why?
Because she's a big deal.
She's a big deal.
No,
And that's the truth.
but I kept.
She is.
So I
She's
would call-
a star.
I'm in
Star,
her
really a
field.
star. That's why
Yeah.
she does. She's amazing.
Oh my God.
Can you believe you guys? Pam Fryman does not have an Emmy yet. Is that insane?
No, but listen to
It's
me.
She
insane.
will have
It's
one.
I
insane.
said to-
It's crazy. Let's get
I
Pam,
kept
hashtag
calling-
Pam Fryman Emmy.
But I did. I called my agent and I said, "Have you heard from the people at Sony?" This went on, and they're like, "No." And I'm like, "Gloria, are you really? Can I do this?" It was just an odd thing. I am wildly lucky to be a part of this show. I laugh all day. I cry all day. I'm inspired all day, and I'm educated, because there's one thing that's different when you look at us. But I'm learning, and I can put things in a butter tub. I'm so lucky to be embraced by these 4 exceptional women. And I can't wait till Monday. We're
Well,
gonna have fun on Monday.
One of my favorite things is watching Pamela. She's really done tons and tons and tons of comedies, sitcoms and all that. She's done tons. She's heard all the jokes. She has really heard all of the jokes. Great, not so great, fabulous. So my favorite thing to do, my pastime, is watching Pamela when we do something extremely funny, and this is how she laughs at us. For her, that's
big.
For her, that's the equivalent of
I don't want to get in the way. But I'm more than anything, I'm a fan.
I want to give Pam one more compliment since we're all shedding so much love. I've been in the industry since I was 5, and I did not know that a director was important until Pam Fryman. Pam Fryman walked on set, and I was like, oh my God.
That's what they do.
Everything is so much easier, and everything's going great. It's amazing. Pam Fryman, not only is she an amazing director, and she will get the best work out of all of us, but she is such an incredible human. And it's like, we always talk about it. Whenever Pam's coming back, we're like, thank God.
We're so happy.
Because there's like a calm that she brings and a love, and like, we're never scared when
and
Pam's
you feel
on set.
safe and protected.
Yes,
Absolutely.
we're never scared.
And always done with love and with calmness. And it's a real, it's an education to watch her do what she does with so much love and compassion, honestly.
Okay.
Thank you, Pamela. She hates it. She hates it.
Let's do some questions.
Okay, I'm nervous. You guys are talking about representation. I am a single Latina mother with a gay daughter, and my father, who is an immigrant with a heavy accent, has something to say for everything, lives with me.
You're looking at me.
Because he says, I'm not like that. And so my daughter turns to me and she says, this show makes me feel normal. So thank you. The show does so well of representing I'm an American with a beautiful culture, and people ask, who's my gardener? And it's my father mowing the lawn, and I go, how can they do that? And then I open up the fridge and there's tubs of butter with frijoles in it. So I wanted to ask, what piece of your culture did each of you bring or represent to the show, making the bustelo there in the morning, or the cookie tin? Did any of you say, hey, I think this is me and I want to put it in the show? So
That was all her. It was all her. And we know that, we all related to it, but it's all Gloria.
It's really Gloria. It's true. And I'm doing my mom, but I am playing her mom, but I'm doing my mom's accent. So it's all in the family. Oh, is that a cliche?
Well, this also speaks to, season 1. I talk about this a lot too, but season 1, every time there was a question from props, from costuming, from anyone, they'd ask Mike and Norman. And Mike and Norman always said, ask her. And then after the 3rd or 4th time, they just asked me. And I walked through that set, and I put all the Goya in there. The La Cubanita is my cousin's guava company. It's great, so get his guava.
Yeah.
Is that your cousin?
Yeah, that's my cousin's company. La Cubanita. That's Macho, who I name all my cousins on the show too. Their names are all thrown in there. And they let me put all the Goya and the Bustelo and the cafetera,
She
which
taught
is
me to
always
make
on there.
that Cuban coffee for the titles.
Yeah. So and then the crosses everywhere and the popes everywhere.
That is.
But you know what I
That
love?
was my house.
I know,
Popes
you know what
everywhere.
I love, and I hope you'll bring it back because it's been a while. The voodoo stuff. God, I love
Oh, the
that.
Santeria.
The Santeria.
Well, that's
the voodoo.
We don't believe it, but we respect it.
I love that.
We respect it. You know what I mean?
Because my mom used to send me to that kind of store where they had Santeria stuff.
yeah, for sure.
And I
Everybody's
remember
been
walking
there.
through it and seeing jars of dead
Botanica.
flies and snake skins. I mean, it's the scariest place on earth. Yeah. Scariest place on earth.
Still go.
Yeah.
I respect it. Another question?
Hi, I just wanted to say I'm honored to be in the presence of the six of you. You are amazing ladies, and I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you. I did also want to say to Justina, I've followed your career from 6 Feet Under to Queen of the South, and you are an amazing actress, and I really, when I see you're in a role, I trust that that story is going to be well told, so thank you.
She can do anything. Can she do anything? It's amazing.
I appreciate it.
So Netflix has this great feature where you can skip the intro, but this is one of the few shows that I binge watch that I always watch the intro because that Gloria Stefan track is amazing. So I wanted to hear from Gloria. How did that come about to get Gloria Stefan to get the title track?
Norman Lear. That was all Norman, thank God. Norman got us Rita. I said Rita and I couldn't believe it when he was like, oh, I love Rita. I'm seeing Rita. I'll talk to Rita. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking, what? Yeah. And then he did. And then I said, I think it'd be really cool if we got Gloria Stefan to do it. And he was like, I'm friends with Gloria and Emilio. I'll call them up. And then he did, and then they did. And then all of a sudden it's like, Emilio Stefan on the phone for you, Gloria, for notes. I'm like, hello, hola.
And they love the show,
They
by the
love
way.
the show.
Love
They're
their
so
big
You know who
supportive.
else loves the show? Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah, Liv loves it.
Big fan. Big fan.
Well, Gloria, you did not throw away your shot. Up here.
You did it, Mo. You did it.
I had to do that. Come on, let me have that. Next question.
Okay, this is almost going to sound like a pitch for a second, but have you ever thought of, like, with everything going on in Puerto Rico, maybe they have, like, a cousin that comes to live with them because of all the despair going on, and they, like, sleep on the couch, possibly a bisexual cousin?
Sound like a pitch? It is a
You
pitch.
know what? You know what, though? You should write that. You should write that because I love when our fans come to us. We've already broken the third season. It's broken. We know what's
we've done
happening.
all third season.
It's all done. But that is a great story, and somebody should write that story because that's a different story, and that's beautiful. So why don't you write it?
Thanks. There's a lot of Cubans in Puerto Rico.
But you know, Gloria encourages young writers. I mean,
Yes.
that's a whole nother side of her life, which is fabulous. Thank you, Rita. Yeah, you're welcome.
And so I understand, I'm sorry, I'm going to interject. I understand that you have a writer's room that is extremely
It's the
inclusive.
UN. It's the UN. I call it the UN.
Yes, we're half Latino, so we have Cuban. We have 2 Cubans actually, 3 Cubans. Cuban, Puerto Rican, El Salvadorian, Salvis, Argentina, and then we got white guys too.
There are actually some white people there.
Yes, there are. And we also have half female, which is very important. And we have 3 queer writers as well. And I like, for me, I really value our white male writers as well because that's who I'm trying to reach, right? So for me, having the conversations and getting to have the conversations and the fights and all of that with them we put that right into the show because we have Schneider. With which to be the guy who's like, what? I didn't know. Huh? That's a thing. So it works really. We have a beautiful room. I love this writer's room so much.
Yeah.
Hello. I love the show, and I love all sitcoms. That's like my favorite type of show. And I hadn't seen the original One Day at a Time, but when this one came out, I sought it out so I could see both. And I was actually taken aback by the original. I saw the first few episodes of the original, and I felt cringy. I felt like the mom was being sexually harassed constantly by Schneider. Schneider was grossing me out how much he was sexually harassing her, and then being proposed to constantly by David. And I was so pleasantly surprised that none of that was in yours. And obviously, it was a different time, but I wonder if you could speak to if that was also how it occurred to you and what you wanted to change.
The great thing about Norman is he never made us do anything. He really was like, take it as an inspiration point. The single mom was the element that really we took. And when that show came out in 1975, that was the first divorced single mom on television. And yes, in fact, they wanted to make, Norman told a story about they wanted to make Mary Tyler Moore divorced, and the network would not allow it. So it was huge that this woman was doing all of this without a man in 1975, which is crazy.
That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. So I did not watch the original series because I was born in 1975. That tells you how old I am. But I was born in 75, so I didn't grow up with the show, so I wasn't really familiar with it. It was so much in the zeitgeist of the world that I knew who Schneider was. I don't know how, but I didn't really know about the original series. And Mike and I watched the first 2 episodes, and we were like, well, we're kind of doing our own thing. But what we did take, the second episode is about sexual harassment in 1975. Right. So we decided, you know what, let's do a sexual harassment today to sort of as an homage to the original series. And also the first episode was about Mackenzie wanting, lying and having, so there was some parallels, and then we really decided to do our own thing, and thank God Norman blessed that, so.
And just one other thing was, I'm from New York and I live in Los Angeles. I'm in the industry and I'm liberal, but I've learned so much from the show that I didn't know. I'd never heard the term Latinx before, and then it was great because then, like, a week later, my coworker used it, and I was like, oh, I know what that means. And I had never heard of, I loved the episode of people introducing themselves and their pronouns, and I'd never heard that before, and I'd never heard of Z and Zer before, and I feel like you're opening my eyes. And then I shared it with my Trump-supporting parents, and and it opens their eyes, and I just thank you for what you're doing.
Oh.
So these next 2 questions will be the last ones, just so everyone knows. Thank you. Come on up.
Hi. So I'm a young Latina aspiring actress for stage and screen, and I am my family's Blanquita. As soon as that episode came out, I was like, I really get why my life is different than my sister's now. Got it. But so
Same.
Same. I wanted to see if you had any advice on how to navigate the industry as someone wanting to honor their culture and portray their family, but also acknowledging that I do have more privilege as a lighter-skinned Latina, and what your journey has been through that.
I think it's really just about the hustle and the work. I didn't know anyone. I think what's great about all of us is none of us knew anybody in the industry. Yeah. We're all the Hollywood dream, really, especially Moreno, who really did all the work for us. Thanks, Rita.
Yes. Thank you.
She laid down, she broke down so many barriers in her career so that we could all be here.
Just as a reminder, when I was your age and in films, all I could play was native girls and lots of dark makeup and long black hair wigs. That's all I was doing for years and years and years.
Amazing. So I would say I really love to encourage actors to write. I think even if you don't want to be a writer, I think I think writers should take acting classes, because we are all in this bubble together. And so it's great for us to have language that we can use when we're talking to each other and collaborating. So I just put up plays. I worked at Houston's in Century City as a waitress and hostess, and I saved my money and I put up black box plays. And the way I did it was I just got my friends to do it for free, and I found out that Backstage West will review you if you have 6 weeks in a row of a play. So I booked Wednesday night because that was the cheapest night. Wednesday night for 6 weeks so they would review us. And it was people were telling me women weren't funny, especially women of color, so I cast it all with women of color. And we did, the first night I went to all of my favorite charities in Los Angeles and gave them free tickets. So 10 tickets for the Heart Association. I said, please, just your volunteers, have them come to a free night of theater. It's going to be amazing. That first show was free. I didn't make no money on it. But then after that, word of mouth spread. And that's how I got my agent and my manager and everybody. Wow. So if you build it, they will come. And now, that's before YouTube. That's before you can now shoot a movie on your phone. You can put your work out there. It's such an exciting time, I think, to be a young creator. And there are so many outlets for content. I think there's 400 now. It's unbelievable. So make your stuff and put it out there, and the cream will rise to the top. It just takes time. It takes time, but do it.
Thank you. I'm going to add very quickly regarding the whole honoring and being Blanquita and all of that is you seem open-minded about wanting to honor that, and that's the biggest thing, I think, because, again, I didn't know that I had that privilege until this year. And I think it's being open-minded and learning. Right now, we're at a time where people want to make examples out of people and people want to tear people down. And I think teachable moments are really important. So listening to the people around you. For me, it's Ariela Barrera, who plays Carmen on the show. She is Elena in real life. It's amazing. She knows everything. I don't know how she does it. And just having people like that and being selective about what you're choosing. You know, if you're aware that you're Latinx and there's a role offered to you that represents as a negative light, maybe think about it twice before doing it. And stuff like that so that we get to put content out there that represents us. And then also, because of your privilege, you'll grow a platform and all of that, use your platform for good, highlight people that maybe don't have the privilege and all of that good stuff.
Well, you know, it's funny, Machado and I were talking about this morning. I think there's also something still prevalent in Latinos in this country in terms of fear and not being heard. And what happens sometimes at these events is people will be like, Gloria! And what I want to let you know is, you can do this. You can do this. And we need to start building a world where we lift each other up and say, you don't need one person. We don't all need to go, Lin-Manuel, please, Lin-Manuel. We don't have to, because we can be Lin-Manuel. And you guys have the power, really. I think it's so important. I think it's so important. I'm trying to work.
The work is important because I think so many people nowadays too, they just see how the celebrity is a celebrity just to be a celebrity. And it's like we all put in our work, you know? I mean, I was in the theater forever before I moved to New York and did something else.
You were in Lin-Manuel's play. Tell them.
Yeah, I did in the Heights, like on Broadway. But that was like, thank you. But Chicago's a great theater town. And then I moved to New York. And then the next step was Los Angeles. But I never thought in my head, this was a while ago though. I know things are different now. I never thought, I'm gonna go to LA and I'm gonna do this. I really wanted to work. I really wanted to learn. And then I really wanted to go to LA because LA's a different animal. You know what I mean? That's just a different thing. It's not for the faint-hearted.
And I think I approached Sony and they were very open because I want to try to create some sort of incubator where we can show people for free on YouTube or something, just some basic classes of screenwriting, because I think education is a problem. There's people that want to be educated that are from immigrant families. I know from my parents came here with a suitcase, right? So I know what that struggle is to their sacrifice in educating me. And I want to try to find a way to educate young storytellers so that they know what this process is. But in the interim, your local library, read every play and screenplay in there. Really.
Study,
I
take classes.
I go twice a week to the library with my kids. I love the library. It is such an incredible resource. There's also things like Hulu and YouTube that have old shows. You know what I do in my hiatus? I watch Golden Girls, like on repeat.
Me too. Some great writing.
It's great writing, and it's great writing, and it's
writing.
great to just hear it, and to hear it, and to I never stop studying it. All that stuff are resources. I used to go to the Paley Center, which used to be the Museum of TV and Radio, when I had no money. And I would go in there and check out old shows and just break them down for myself. I didn't go to screenwriting school. There's a way that you can do this. And so I just want to really inspire young storytellers. There is a way. You don't have to look at us and go, that'll never be me. Yeah. You got to go, that's going to be me, and I'm going to figure it out. Really.
Yes.
We need you.
We have to wrap up, but can you really quickly ask a question and get a quick answer?
I'll try my best.
I'm sorry, I just feel bad because I don't want you were waiting so long.
You talked about depression earlier with Penelope, and especially with this week, not like being open and talking about it. And it was very refreshing to see a person of color actually showing what depression looked like. Your performance was, I suffer from anxiety and depression, so it's one of those things where I was like, oh my God, it's right there. I can show this to people and let them understand what it's like. And I was wondering, what was was the conscious effort put into specifically show it that way?
We just wanted to honor that moment. I think it is something, growing up Latino, it's something you're supposed to suffer through. And I also think that it's, in a way, treatment is a privilege. Because when you are just struggling to get food on the table, you don't have time to think about your mental health. And so we really want to inspire people and let them know that is one of the most important things you can give yourself, is the gift of mental health. You are not alone. There are places like support. We're talking more about it in season 3. but support groups, which Penelope is in, are free. And there's ways, and I want people to talk about it more in their home because it's not a failure. I don't know what happened in the Latino culture where we frown upon it, where it's like you just got to white knuckle
I was
it.
just about to bring that up because we
Yeah.
don't do well
No,
in that
we
department.
don't. We don't.
That means you're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the same in the Indian culture. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it's
we have to
absolutely
destigmatize it and we have to normalize it because
I went into psychotherapy when I was my early 20s, and everyone around me said, "Well, what are you crazy? What's wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
You can handle that by yourself." No, I couldn't. But Latinos don't like that. The black community doesn't like that either. The same, very similar. It's frowned upon to be outwardly unhappy.
Well, they also don't want anybody knowing their business, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
my mother's
absolutely.
thing. She's like, well, I'm going to go tell that person my bit. You know what I mean? That's how they
what
feel
will
about
my
those
friends
things.
say? What will my friends say? Or what will the lady down the street say? And so that's kind of, I think, universal in our culture. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, these discussions today, thank you for that. Thank you. These questions were great. All of you are just gems. Thank you for this incredible discussion. Thank you for the audience.
You were terrific,
great.
by the way.
Mo, thank you, Mo.